Greetings from Australia and welcome back to our channel. My name is Ruth and I am an Australian immigration law practitioner in Australia. Well, in today's video, I would like to share with you 3 things you must know for an Australian tourist visa or an Australian visitor's visa. Now, before we get started, please note that the contents of this video is not to be treated as legal or migration advice because we assess each case on a case-by-case basis. However, we trust that the contents will provide you with a general idea as to what you need to look out for if you're applying for an Australian visitor's or tourist visa. So let's get started. What are the 3 things you must know in order to obtain an Australian tourist or visitor's visa? So the first thing is the purpose of visit has to be clear. So in terms of visitor or tourist visa, as the name suggests, you are merely visiting Australia or you are here as a tourist, which means you want to come and sightsee, you want to have a holiday in Australia, or you want to visit Australia because you've got friends or family who live in Australia. So in terms of the purpose, you need to be a genuine tourist or a genuine visitor, which means you must be able to prove that after the conclusion of your visit, that you are willing and able to return back to your home country. So that's very, very important. The second thing that you must know is immigration usually requires you to show evidence of sufficient funds. So this could be your personal funds, or if you have a sponsor in Australia, for example, if you've got a family member or a friend who has invited you to come for say 2 weeks in Australia, then your sponsor should also be able to produce a letter of invitation and also evidence that they have sufficient funds to support your stay here. For example, it could be that they rent a house or they own a home and they're happy to accommodate you and you'll be staying with them, or if you're going for sightseeing, or if you're going to go to the theme parks or the zoo, for example, that they're happy to cover your cost. They're happy to cover the travel costs, accommodation costs, as well as expenses. In our view, it's always good to show evidence of funds coming from both ends. So in this case, if the applicant doesn't have sufficient funds, then we will still try our best to show that they have got some funds to fund themselves in Australia. But at the same time, we will encourage the family members or friends here to also produce the evidence that they have sufficient funds. So this could be evidence with their bank accounts, or for example, if they have stable employment, then it would be pay slips for the previous couple of months, and also their contact work information, etc., etc. So that's the second thing you must know in order to obtain an Australian tourist or visitor's visa. The third thing that you must know is that you need to be able to show that you have the intention to return home after your visit. Now, this is very, very important. The things that immigration will be looking out for are such as employment. If you are applying for a tourist visa and you have stable employment at home, back in your home country, and you can produce a leave letter from your employer, then essentially this will really go to support your application to show that you're really just coming here for a holiday, but after you finished your visit in Australia, you'll be returning because your employer is expecting you to return to them. If you have family members back home, for example, if you have your spouse back home and you're just here to visit, like your sister or your brother, or you've got kids back home, your children back home, essentially that could also be good evidence to show that you are a genuine tourist. If you have assets and land, properties back home, this can also go to show that you are a genuine tourist. Now, I understand that not everyone can show evidence of employment. Not everyone can show, that they have, young children back home. Maybe their kids are all grown up now, because if you're applying as a tourist and you want to come and visit Australia in, let's say, your 60s or 70s, your kids might be, in their 40s, so they're adults. So really, they don't need you to go back home to look after them. Or in some cases, we've seen that clients may not necessarily have a lot of assets or property back home. So does that mean that your application will fail? Well, it really depends, because as far as immigration is concerned, the other thing that they look at is the country in which you are originally from. If the economic situation in your home country is not great, then we have seen a pattern whereby immigration is more willing to refuse a visa application. Now, having said that, we have actually handled a couple of cases where our clients have gone on to apply for a tourist visa to come and visit their family or friends, and they were initially denied, but then upon a second attempt or more, we have actually been successful in getting them a visa to Australia. So one example I can provide to you is we had a client from Africa. This is some time back, but she had about, I think, 3 or 4 prior refusals. So they've gone through different agents. They've tried to do it themselves. Basically, she's got her family, like not immediate family members, but distant family members living in Australia, and they were asking her to come for a visit, to visit their kids. So she's a beautiful, grandma. She's probably about 70 years old, maybe just under 70, in her 60s. She doesn't have employment. She doesn't have young family members. She's a widow. Doesn't have a lot of assets or money or anything like that. And also she's considered as being from a higher risk country. So she was actually refused the visa, I think about 4 times before her family found us. So when they found us, we were pretty certain that if we were to go for another application, it's likely to be refused. However, the client instructed us to proceed, and to proceed nevertheless. And I remember saying to the client at the time, are you sure you want to do this? Because if you pay the fees, it's not going to be refundable. Are you sure you want to do this? And they were like, no, we want to give it one last go. So we took on the application, and we actually went through the laws, and we actually wrote a submission. So a submission is like a legal argument that you present to immigration when you apply. And so in this case, it was when the client approached us, it was pretty clear that the applicant, the grandma, was a genuine tourist. Like, she just wants to come and visit, with the young kids, and after that she wants to go home to her home country. But I guess immigration was reluctant to give her the visa initially because they felt that she might overstay her visa. So what that means is she may come here and then her visa would run out and she'll just keep staying here, and that's not good. So we managed to find a way to, I would say, alleviate the fees that immigration had. And we even went to the extent of saying, the people who are inviting her, they're great people. Here is the way they work. They're going to ensure that she's going to get on the plane on such and such a date. They're going to make sure that she's not going to be here illegally, etc., etc. So finally, immigration actually granted the visa on the 5th application. Can you believe it? So I was actually pleasantly surprised. I mean, I was overjoyed. The clients were overjoyed. They came and had a lovely time, and she's back in her home country now. But so satisfying the genuine requirement for tourist visa or visitor's visa is not easy. It's actually one of the harder applications to make, especially if you're from a country which is considered as a higher risk country. But whatever you do, it is so important to alleviate the fear that immigration has. So if you need help with that, just drop us an email, and we would be happy to assess and look at your situation and see if it's a viable visa that your family members overseas can apply for if they're living overseas. Or if you're intending to visit Australia, then whether or not this is a visa that's suitable for you. And if not, then we can also look into other visa options, because we have got about 200 types of visas in Australia, which is pretty amazing. So to summarize, the 3 things you must know for an Australian tourist visa is: number 1, you need to determine the purpose of your visit and the time frame. Number 2, showing sufficient funds. And number 3, you need to show that you have a genuine intention to return home after your visit. If you don't meet all of the requirements, it doesn't mean that you cannot get a tourist visa, like the case that we just explained. It is a matter of alleviating the fees for immigration, and just a matter of convincing immigration that you are a genuine tourist. So please, once again, do not treat the contents of the video as legal or migration advice, because we assess each case on a case-by-case basis. But if you need help with your specific visa matter, then please do not hesitate to contact us on the email address below, and we would be happy to assist. Thank you for your time, and all the best.